the beginning of the story, a group of wealthy people was running like mad to save their lives. Among them, a woman hides inside a toilet in a state of panic. She feels she is safe now, but the very next moment, strange sounds begin to emerge from beneath the toilet commode. It felt as if some mysterious thing was moving toward her. With a terrifying scream, a strange force suddenly pulls her inside the commode. No one had ever thought that this cruise ship, described as the most luxurious in the world, would get stuck in such a terrible disaster. Actually, until a short while ago, rich people here were enjoying themselves openly and spending money like water. Just then, while everyone was immersed in their entertainment, a mysterious man quietly slips into the control room. He inserts some disks and inputs new orders into the system, causing the ship's power and communication systems to shut down suddenly. Then, the communication officer brings even worse news. He reports that some very large creature or object is moving rapidly toward them beneath the ship. As the countdown ends, the ship is suddenly hit by a violent collision. Passengers present without any preparation fall to the ground. A lifeboat also falls into the sea. As the ship stabilizes slightly, the wealthy people who previously looked very civilized and polite now begin to run around in panic. And the Asian woman who was hidden in the toilet becomes the first victim of this ship. But the chaos on the ship still continues. On the other side, through heavy rain on the sea horizon, a speedboat is moving forward. Its captain, Finnegan, is an experienced smuggler. That day, he had received a big deal to deliver some cargo to a red dot area. The cunning Finnegan didn't even think it necessary to ask what the cargo was because the man who gave him the job looked quite dangerous. However, his assistant, Pantucci, cannot restrain his curiosity. He quietly sneaks into the hold and opens a box. To his surprise, a torpedo was kept inside, and dozens of such boxes were lying there. Pantucci wonders what these people are actually going to do. Suddenly, a man stands behind him. It was the man of the dark-faced boss whom he had brought along. It seems Pantucci is destined for a severe beating today. But then, suddenly, some arrow-like sharp things come piercing through the air toward the dark boss. Finnegan was not one to let his partner be beaten like that. A fight was about to break out, and the atmosphere had become completely tense. But the dark leader clearly understood that tonight's mission was more important. Therefore, he himself gestured for his men to calm the matter down. Now Finnegan realized that these people were definitely going to do something very bad. He just wanted the work to finish quickly so he could leave. Perhaps in this haste, he did not notice the lifeboat floating in front. After a violent collision, a large hole was formed in the front of the speedboat. Although they extinguished the fire very quickly, the torpedoes kept in the cargo did not catch fire. Then the female assistant sees a strange thing. Ahead in the sea stood a giant cruise ship. She suggested that perhaps by taking some tools and parts from there, the speedboat could be repaired. Finnegan hesitated a bit, but then the Dark Leader's men take out their weapons. Now Finnegan understood everything, that these people's real target was that very ship. Under the pressure of the Dark Leader, Finnegan takes the speedboat rapidly toward the ship. When the distance feels right, a man opens the left side hatch via remote through a computer. The rest of the people take out pre-prepared boarding equipment. In less than 5 minutes, they climb onto that giant ship. Under the pretext of finding necessary parts for the speedboat's repair, the Dark Leader brings Finnegan and Pantucci up with him. Meanwhile, the others set out to eliminate the security guards present on the ship. But the strange thing was that while there were scattered belongings and signs of destruction everywhere in the hall, not a single human was visible. Everyone looked at each other's faces in surprise. Then some sound comes from the elevator behind. Everyone moves toward it cautiously. But when the elevator door opens, only bloodstains are visible there too. Everyone begins to wonder where all the passengers of the ship have gone. Still, the Dark Leader did not want to give up his dream of becoming rich in a single night. He ordered his men to search in different directions. Finnegan and Pantucci go to the lower engine room to find spare parts, while the Dark Leader himself goes to the ship's control room to see if any clues can be found there. On the other side, the female assistant, who was repairing the hull while staying on the speedboat, suddenly feels some movement in the water. She was about to call her companions when suddenly a swollen, white corpse floats up to the surface. Seeing this, the female assistant screams loudly in fear. She swallows several gulps of water in terror. She is barely able to compose herself when suddenly some movement is heard behind her. Elsewhere, while Finnegan and Pantucci are gathering necessary parts for repair in the engine room, a pirate standing guard suddenly hears a faint sound coming from the other side. He immediately picks up his weapon and moves forward to investigate cautiously. Gradually, he feels that the water accumulated on the floor has reached his knees. His fear grows because he feels that some big danger is hidden beneath this water. Suddenly, some bubbles rise in the water. Before he can understand anything, some force suddenly pulls him under the water. A terrifying scream is heard, and his weapon flies and falls right in front of Finnegan. Seeing this, everyone is stunned and starts looking around in panic. The remaining long-haired pirate suspects that all this is Finnegan's trick, but Finnegan was sure that some other thing was hidden here. The long-haired pirate tells him to shut up and says that this matter must be reported to the Dark Leader immediately. But before the phone call can even connect, the same force emerges again from under the water. This time, it grabs the pirate and drags him into the water. Finnegan sees him turning into blood-red water before his very eyes. Only then does he realize that a terrifying monster is hidden inside the water. Now, he doesn't care about gathering any parts and tells Pantucci to run from here immediately. Meanwhile, in a locked warehouse of the ship, a woman dressed in red wakes up from unconsciousness. Her name was Trillian, and she hadn't come on this cruise to have fun. Very cleverly, she had entered the ship and stolen the access card from the captain. But when she barely reached the ship's vault room, the captain and his men caught her red-handed. For this reason, she was locked in the warehouse. However, because of this, she also survived the disaster. Trillian damages the electronic locking circuit of the door with her earrings and somehow comes out. But as soon as she comes out, the Dark Leader and his men are standing in front. Trillian doesn't panic and immediately lies, saying she is the captain's personal assistant. But the Dark Leader was not going to fall for her words. He asks directly where the rest of the passengers went. Meanwhile, one of his men takes the access card and tries to open the ship's vault. But as soon as the door opens, an axe suddenly comes flying out. The pirates immediately start firing bullets inside. If the Dark Leader hadn't moved back in time, he too would have fallen victim to that axe. Someone had stopped it just in time, and because of this, the lives of the crew's owner and the captain were somehow saved. Amidst this chaos, someone shouted that a monster had arrived. At the same time, the sound of gunfire begins to come from the walkie-talkie. It seemed that people who went to other parts of the ship were also facing some danger. Seizing the opportunity, Trillian quietly slips away from there. She decides to go to the lower floor by elevator. But on the way, she meets Finnegan and Pantucci, who have just escaped from the jaws of death. Finnegan warns her not to wander around because a terrifying monster is hidden somewhere outside. Just then, some crawling-like sound comes from above the elevator, making Finnegan's words seem true. In the meantime, the elevator door opens again, and the Dark Leader stands in front with his men. Finnegan tries to explain to everyone that they should work together at this time. The captain and the ship's owner also support his words. Although the Dark Leader had not seen the monster himself, he was now starting to believe it. Suddenly, the elevator starts shaking violently. The next moment, a terrifying explosion occurs, and the elevator cable breaks. The elevator begins to fall rapidly. Fortunately, the ship was not very high. When the elevator reaches the third lower floor, everyone is thrown out forcefully. If they weren't sure they were still alive, they might have felt they had arrived in hell. Sticky blood was smeared on the walls, and human bones in various states were scattered everywhere on the ground. Everyone had not even emerged from this scary sight when suddenly heavy pressure begins to fall on the walls of the corridor. Thick iron sheets begin to bend as if someone had crushed an empty can. Finnegan and the others begin to retreat while firing bullets. Finally, they close a heavy security door. Only then does that strange force stop. Now everyone starts arguing about what that monster actually is. Someone suggested seeking help from the nearby navy, but the captain says that the ship's communication system has already been damaged. He suspected that some traitor was present inside the ship itself. Finnegan immediately understands the truth, that the traitor was perhaps the ship's owner himself. Finally, the Dark Leader tells the truth. He admits that a deal had been made between him and the ship's owner. The plan was that the Dark Leader would rob the wealthy passengers of the ship, after which the ship would be blown up. In fact, the owner was finding the cost of running the ship too high. He wasn't making a profit just by selling tickets. Therefore, he hatched this whole game so that he could get a huge insurance amount upon the destruction of the ship. Hearing this, the captain bursts out in anger. He feels that finding such a greedy owner is his greatest misfortune. Meanwhile, Pentucci was quietly watching all this drama. Suddenly, something falls from above his head. Just as he was about to look up, a giant octopus tentacle comes waving toward him. Finnegan reacts immediately by raining bullets from his gun. The bullets wound the tentacle, and along with it, a decomposed human body, looking as if burnt by acid, also appears. Seeing this, cold sweat appears on everyone's foreheads. Everyone starts firing bullets upward in panic. But the tentacle's web was spread everywhere in the ship's cabins. Therefore, they start retreating while fighting. During this, Finnegan and Trillian collide with each other. Seizing the opportunity, Trillian starts making a deal with him, that if Finnegan gets her out of here safely, she is ready to do anything for him. Suddenly, a tentacle lunges rapidly toward them. Finnegan falls while trying to escape. He goes to pick up the gun lying on the ground, but the noise made by it makes the tentacle even angrier. Just as it was about to grab him in fear, Trillian moves forward without thinking and fires bullets continuously from the gun. With the barrage of heavy bullets, that monstrous arm retreats, and thus Finnegan's life is saved. Then he remembers Trillian's earlier words and quickly nods his head, accepting her proposal. On the other side, the same tentacle monster had also attacked the captain. By the time Finnegan and Trillian reach there, it is too late. The monstrous arm grabs the captain and pulls him beneath the deck. Everyone starts firing bullets from all sides in panic. When everything calms down after a while, the Dark Leader, troubled by repeated attacks, starts muttering in anger. The crew's owner guesses that this is perhaps a giant octopus from ancient times. The deeper the sea, the larger its size becomes. Everyone remembers the captain's earlier point, that the depth of the sea area they were in was about 10,000 meters. Thinking of this, everyone's hair stands on end, and no one speaks further on this subject. Finnegan just wanted to take the necessary parts quickly and reach his speedboat. But the road ahead was filled with seawater. Now it could only be crossed by swimming. Thinking of that giant octopus hidden under the water sends a chill down everyone's spine. But Finnegan knew that if he had to go back home, he would have to take the risk. The next moment, he jumps into the water. When one man shows courage, the others do not stay behind. Some brave people also jump after him. Only some cowardly people were still hesitating when a loud explosion is heard from behind. That giant octopus had reached them again, chasing them. Pentucci immediately closes the heavy security door. But within a few seconds, that door also opens with the push of that giant tentacle. Everyone fires bullets together and somehow forces the monster to retreat for a while. Then they quickly jump into the seawater. But the dark pirate standing at the very back was not so lucky. A tentacle grips him tightly. Before dying, he takes a grenade out of his pocket and pulls its pin. With a heavy explosion, he is killed, but he also causes serious injury to that giant octopus. After continuous lethal attacks, that monstrous sea creature was also becoming aggressive and mad. One man was so terrified it was as if his life had left him. He began to insist on staying here and waiting for the rescue team, but Finnegan did not find this right. He said that the octopus is very intelligent and it will definitely find some way to get out of here. As soon as he said this, everyone's eyes suddenly froze. The man with the machine gun had also probably sensed the danger. Without even looking back, he started firing bullets from his gun. Being hit by bullets, the tentacle monster writhed in pain and wrapped itself tightly around the pipes. But that man hadn't even sighed in relief when suddenly another tentacle comes and grabs him, dragging him straight down. Finnegan and the others start running like mad in the corridor. But that monster repeatedly creates obstacles in the path and changes their route. Whether this was intentional or not, no one knows. Finally, they come to a stop in front of an iron door. The ship's owner gestures that there is a large hall beyond it. Finnegan moves forward carefully, but he is stunned to see the scene in front. The whole place was filled with the decomposed bones of humans. It clearly looked like that octopus monster had brought the ship's passengers here and killed them. Suddenly, a loud sound of collision comes from the front, and a lot of water starts entering. The cruel-minded ship owner immediately closes the iron door, causing the rest of the people to be trapped behind. Now the remaining Finnegan and his companions separate to find a way out. Here in the corridor, the water level was constantly rising, and that octopus was also moving rapidly toward them. The Dark Leader throws a grenade in anger, but the surprising thing was that instead of retreating, the monster started chasing them even faster. Then the Dark Leader took a very cruel decision. He shot Pantucci in the leg so that he would stop, and his death would give the leader time to escape. But Pantucci was also no less clever. Before the monster arrived, he hid in a trash can. After a while, when he reaches the hall limping, he sees the Dark Leader's pistol on the ground. As he goes to pick it up, suddenly a hand rests on his shoulder. In fact, the Dark Leader himself was trapped in the monster's tentacle. Pantucci starts running in fear, but then he takes pity on him. Extending the pistol toward him, he says to shoot himself so he can get a quick death. But the Dark Leader suddenly turns the mouth of the gun toward Pantucci. Fortunately, the bullet does not hit him. Then the Dark Leader turns the gun toward himself. But then it turns out that the pistol's bullets are already exhausted. Now he has no way left but to die slowly at the hands of that terrifying monster. On the other hand, Finnegan and Trillian prove to be luckier. They crawl through another tunnel to reach the ship's deck, and from there, with the help of an elevator, they gradually descend to reach their speedboat. Because they could not bring the necessary parts for repair, Finnegan told Trillian to go to the cruise and find a jet ski and try to escape with it. Meanwhile, Finnegan decided that he would finish that terrifying octopus. The dozens of torpedoes kept in the speedboat were now going to be useful to him. Just then, his assistant Pantucci also returns, and both together make a plan. They set the speedboat on automatic navigation mode so that it turns and hits the cruise ship directly and blows up that octopus hidden inside. When all the preparations are almost complete, Finnegan tells Pantucci to stay here and handle the rest of the work. Meanwhile, he himself sets out to check on Trillian to see if she is okay or not. On the other side, Trillian was also not one to give up. After a lot of searching, she finally finds a jet ski key. But then suddenly the ship's owner comes in front and shows a gun to try and snatch the key from her. Trillian says irritably that there is not one but many jet skis here. "Why do you want to snatch it from me only?" Both were arguing when Finnegan reaches there with a gun. He fires. But the surprising thing was that not a single one of his bullets hits the ship's owner. It seemed that he did not want to kill him. In the meantime, the entertainment hall starts shaking violently. Dozens of tentacles emerge from beneath the deck, and the next moment, a giant fleshy body is seen. Finnegan and Trillian are both stunned. Finally, they had seen the real body of that giant octopus monster. Finnegan had not even emerged from this sight when suddenly tentacles grip his legs. Terrifying force begins to press him from all sides. He sees a giant blood-filled mouth moving toward him, and that monster's large eyes are shining with a scary blue light. In that moment of danger, Finnegan immediately takes out his shotgun and fires a bullet directly into that octopus's eye. With a loud explosion, its eye bursts and the monster retreats in pain. Taking the opportunity, Finnegan runs fast and reaches the speedboat. But when he goes into the cabin, broken glass and sticky, dirty liquid were spread there. Seeing this, he understands that Pantucci probably did not survive. Now Finnegan has to drive the speedboat himself out of necessity. Finnegan starts the autopilot of the speedboat and then runs back rapidly toward the cruise to meet Trillian. Meanwhile, at the same time, the ship's owner reaches the deck. As soon as he sees the moving speedboat, he jumps straight into the sea without thinking. Even if his leg broke, it was better than dying here. Somehow, laughing, he reaches the cabin of the speedboat. But after going inside, his happiness immediately disappears because the speedboat was in autopilot mode, and now it could not be controlled by hand. Here, Finnegan was running at full speed with Trillian. Behind them, the octopus monster's tentacles were chasing them. Finnegan repeatedly presses buttons to open the elevator door in advance and somehow escapes from that monster. At the same time, the speedboat turns and starts coming directly toward the cruise ship. The ship's owner, trapped in the speedboat, remains watching helplessly, and the next moment the speedboat hits the ship directly. With a fierce explosion, the flames of fire rise to the sky. In the last moment, Finnegan and Trillian manage to get out of the ship. That giant octopus monster is also destroyed, burning in the flames of fire. Finally, Finnegan and Trillian reach a deserted island while floating in the sea. But unfortunately, their jet ski is also completely broken. Both think that perhaps now they will have to stay here. Just then, a man is seen swimming toward them with the waves of the sea. He was none other than Pantucci, who miraculously survived. The three are happy to see each other and hug. But then suddenly, the roar of some terrifying monster is heard from behind them. It seems that some other big creature is moving rapidly toward